Grab a beer and pull up a chair. Welcome to the Northwoods Beer Guy podcast. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Northwoods Beer Guy podcast. This is Mike, the Northwoods Beer Guy, and we are back in the Northwoods. And you know what that means? We are joined by Mr. BK himself.
Good day, good day.
How's it going, Brian?
It's going good. We're back at South Bar.
Yeah.
The home bar for me anyway. We've got I actually have some snacks on the grill. We are going to be doing some burnt ends later, but we're just up here. It's a gorgeous day. It's not windy. It's not sunny. It's just kind of cloudy and no bugs. It's a wonderful day up here.
Yeah, it couldn't ask for a better. Right now, a little bit cool, which is good. I don't mind that at all.
It doesn't bother me at all. After the last trip I was on in the heat from further south, I'm ready for a day like this.
Oh, exactly. So yeah, we kind of decided that since we were both going to be up here, we might as well put some work in, so to speak.
Yeah, well, we were going to have a few beers anyway, so we might as well talk about them.
Might as well talk about them and, get some more work for me to do. So
absolutely.
So yeah. So, I guess, what have you been up to since the last time you were on?
Well, since the last time, I went and saw my nephew graduate from basic training in the Army.
Nice.
So he was down in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Thank you to everybody who serves and continues to serve. It's a great honor to be an uncle and also a father of my son is in the Navy. So it was a great honor to see him graduate in the Army and basically start on a new career of his life.
That is cool.
And so while we were there, we stopped at a couple breweries. And then I went back into Kansas where I'm from, some great beer that comes out of Kansas as well and brought some back. So hence the reason why we'll be partaking in some of this soon.
I am excited. Always excited for new beer.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah, since we've been together again, Susie took our daughter down to Central Missouri to back down to school for her first year there. She's a senior in college. This will be her final year of college basketball. So I'm not ready for that. I told her she has to consider getting picked up by some kind of a pro team or semi-pro team because some of us aren't ready to not watch her play anymore. And I'm not sure if I've got her convinced, though, so we'll see what happens.
A lot of that's going to have to change, I think. If,
exactly.
They are expanding the WNBA, so you never know. There's a possibility.
Exactly. That's what I thought. So, yeah, so like I said, Susie moved her down there, said it was hot. So
we were a little further south than Warrensburg.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm guessing you were hot, too. So yeah, I guess we could break into if you want.
So we were just north of Fort Leonard Wood in a place called Waynesville. Waynesville, Missouri,
okay.
Right on Route 66.
Awesome, that's cool.
And after graduation, and my nephew was doing some family time. We thought, well, we'll run up the road. I saw a brewery on the map, and it's Piney River Brewing Company. It says there, and I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Bucharest, Missouri. We were in Waynesville in their tap room. On their website, it looks like they've got they've actually got a couple different tap rooms. There's a big bar. I think I showed you some pictures of that.
Yep.
We didn't go there. They have a brewery and breakfast, which sounds like probably two of the greatest things ever, sleeping and beer. But that looks like it's a smaller brewery. We went into the tap room, I had a flight. They had some really great beers. Not too many of them in cans. I think they were just on a low. They had a can shortage or something from their distributor.
Really?
Because they believe it or not, they don't have the paper labels on their cans. They're actually printed up.
Oh, nice.
So they were running short on cans, but I did have some good brews in there and some really interesting ones. And obviously I knew that you hadn't had these, but the first one that caught my eye in the tap room, when I was building my flight was this one. And this is a black walnut, ale. And, it's actually a wheat ale or a wit ale, that they brew with black walnuts. Now I don't know that I've ever seen another beer with black walnuts.
I've seen one.
Okay. It was an oddity to me.
Yep.
And having grown up, in Kansas, and my grandparents' house had black walnut trees everywhere. We lived on black walnuts as kids, right? They were all over the yard. We just ate them, and it was wonderful. So I thought, well, that would be an interesting one to try. So I've had it. You haven't. We'll taste it here.
So I looked it up on Untappd, and if you want, I can read the little description that they have on there.
Go right
so
ahead.
It is a wheat beer, and it's 4.5% ABV, and it's 18 IBUs. And what it says is, buckets, burlap bags, and pickup truck beds are filled with black walnuts each fall in the Ozarks. The rich and lively flavor of the wild, hand-harvested black walnut is a renowned flavor of the region. We're proud to continue celebrating local flavor and tradition with our handcrafted black walnut wheat ale.
Mm-hmm. Now, my recollection, and again, was that I didn't read the disclaimer or anything about it other than it was black walnut ale. Mm-hmm. I did not realize, even after tasting it, that it was a wheat ale.
Boy, it's dark.
It's a dark color, which again kind of throws it off. It is almost the color of a dark amber.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. It's like a really dark amber. Boy, it has a malty smell.
And it's really like a roasted toasty.
Yes. There's no way I'd have thought that was a wheat.
No,
wheat ale
not even close. And when it sat for a little bit after the carbonation, then you start to smell the walnuts.
Okay.
But then the aftertaste, after a couple of sips, it's definitely, you can taste the black walnuts. But I really enjoyed this one the first time I had it and was shocked that it's a wheat beer. Yeah. It really is. After I had it, of course, I just had a taster's glass. But at the end of it, it kind of brought me back to childhood, where I remember literally running around with my cousins and cracking walnuts and just eating walnuts for an afternoon, because it's got that nut flavor at the end of it.
It's funny, my folks at their acreage, they've got black walnut trees in the windbreak around the property that was there before we had it, And it was just funny because I was actually just talking to my dad last weekend, and I had said something about, we were going to the distillery that's kind of in our area, and they started off making bitters, and now they make other stuff, but they have a black walnut. They can do a black walnut old fashioned. So I thought, I'm going to try it. And it was actually really good. But my dad was like, I hate those black walnuts, because the same thing. They're all over the yard. And all that. I don't know how
they're murder on mowers. I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
My grandfather used to curse it as well.
Yeah. So it's just kind of funny, and ironic that we have another black walnut.
But this, again, I was shocked that it's so dark, and you have to take a picture of it and put it on, because it's the darkest wheat anything I've ever seen.
Oh, no doubt. And like I said, I'm just not. I don't get that wheat flavor at all.
Not at all. They actually had several beers on tap that were wheat based.
Okay.
And they told me, well, we take the wheat recipe and add to it. I actually had one of their sours that was truly a sour, more tart, not sweet at all. I had one of those, a blackberry one, that was as tart as like that grandfather we had, or it was a true sour and a tart, as opposed to the ones that are getting sweet. And then but that's based on the same wheat recipe that this one is.
Okay.
So again, I couldn't tell that it was wheat anything, but whatever they've done with this one, they've really changed the base of a wheat beer, and it's refreshing. It's only 4.5%. It doesn't drink like a dark beer. I really do enjoy this. I'm glad I have a few extra.
I was going to say, you can drink a few of these, and now when it's warming up a little bit in the glass, you can start to get more of that flavor
of the black walnut.
Yep. And that's not bad.
No,
that's not bad.
I was afraid when I tried it, as it warmed up. Sometimes I feel that nut ingredients in beer can get bitter, right?
Yep.
Macadamia was one that I really enjoyed, and as soon as it started to get warm, a couple of them that have macadamia nuts, it starts to get bitter. Pine nuts, obviously. Cold is good. To me, they get bitter as it warms up. This one does not. It's really mellow the whole way. And again, I wish more people, I guess, would try the black walnut portion of it.
Yeah, like you said, I have had one other black walnut beer, and I will say right now, this one is head and shoulders above that for flavor. The other one was just a little bit almost too strong. And you're just kind of like, I don't know, but this one is good.
But again, I have a few extra, and I'd like to have your brother try one.
Oh, yeah.
Given the fact that he's a brewer.
Right.
And it's not like southern Minnesota, Iowa doesn't have black walnut trees.
Yeah.
But it'd be an interesting one to try to put in. I could even see you putting this in an IPA or in a...
That's funny.
Or a lager or something like that to give it a little flavor, a different flavor.
I was just thinking about that. I thought, I wonder if an IPA, I think a lager would really probably be a good
It would
fit,
almost be a black lager, because if you take anything darker than a wheat beer, you're going to end up with a stout looking beer.
Yep.
But no, this was a wonderful find. I was extremely pleased.
I do get a kick out of the artwork on the can. It's fairly simplistic, really, but you got, a red band on the bottom with the name of the brewery. On the top is a blue band. Taste of the Ozarks is on there, and then the rest is white, but then it's got a sack of walnuts on there, and then it just says black walnut. I mean, it is cool.
It is the first thing when I looked at the taster board, black walnut. I have never had a black walnut beer. I am going to try that.
Yeah, and like I said, this is only the second one I've ever had, and this one is this is good. I like this. So, what do you? Might as well give her a score of what you're thinking.
Man, I thought about this while I was sitting in the tasting room, and of course, I put my score on Untappd, and I believe I gave it a 3.2, and I'll stick to that. To me, I don't know. I feel like I should almost go higher because I can't tell it's a wheat beer, and wheat beers normally get a little grainy. Yep. But I'm still on a 3.2 or 3.3 for it for sure. Drinkability, would I buy it again? Absolutely. Somebody who's going to be new to craft beer, this would be a great one to try. It's not too strong. It's really smooth. There's no bad aftertaste. And realistically, as you look at it, there are people that are going to, oh, that's too dark for me, right? I can't have that. That's too dark. But it's not. Right.
Yeah. For me, I agree with you 100%. I'm just going to say a 3.3 because this is very drinkable. And now, like Susie, she doesn't like wheat beers because that wheat flavor. She really doesn't like. You don't get that at all in this. And like I said, the black walnut is not overpowering. You get that nutty flavor, but it's not overpowering. And it's just enough to where you, like I said, it kind of cancels out the wheat flavor. I think this is good.
I think that's what it does. It must mellow it or it adjusts it somehow. Because otherwise, again, when you think of all that, and you have had a lot of wheat beers or German ones that are really, again, it tastes grainy. Having grown up in Kansas and my grandfather was a wheat farmer and wheat harvest and all that, I can just, the dust in the air tastes like grain. And some of those get really, really grainy, especially the My Box, and you get the maize grain and stuff in there. It's too much, but you can't taste any of that in this.
No, this is good. I'm excited now. I mean, if this is the first one, the other ones, I can't wait to try them. So this is neat. Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, this is the only one of the group that I have had.
So now we're flying blind.
I've always said when we do our beer tastings and we do our scores, and I always bring beer that I've never had. Well, this one I couldn't not bring and share because it was just too good.
And that's funny that you mentioned that, because when we first started doing those, I always would taste them all before I brought them. Wanted to make sure. But now the last couple of years, everyone I bring, I've never.
Well, I think you and I talked about it, and you go, you never have yours? I said, no, they're always new to me. Yep. So I feel like, too, because we're all competitive a little bit, not terribly so.
Right.
But if I don't know what mine tastes like.
Yep. Then it's harder
to be prejudiced against other ones because we do it blind and all that. So and the fact that it's something new, like I'm great with,
and
that.
You think about it. Yes. Has it bit us before? Yes, it has. You're like, ugh, and then you're like, oh, great. That was mine, to yourself. But, it's, this was a good one. I'm glad. Thank you for bringing it. That was good.
So while we're still on this brewery, I do have one more from them. We'll go ahead and go right into it. So they had, like I said, I had a sour in my group. I had a porter in my group, or in my flight. I had a coffee porter, and I know that you don't care for coffee and as such.
In beer I do, but
in beer. This was the coffee porter I had, and I'd have to look up the name of it. It was every bit as rich as any cup of coffee I've ever had. It was actually really good. But the best one they had on tap, and they didn't have it in a can, the best one they had on tap was called Razor Ruckus. And it was I'd have to look it up, but I think it was only 8%. It was it was 10%. It was an imperial stout.
Okay.
And it was phenomenal. It was absolutely good. It was, I think, Madagascar vanilla beans, and they had Mexican dark chocolate and some other stuff. Unfortunately, it wasn't on tap. And then she says about every fall they throw one in a barrel and do a barrel aged one of it. And I said, well, I might have to make a trip back down.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So there's a chance. So in cans, they did have, a little early, their Oktoberfest.
Oh, nice.
And the ingredients, they just say Ozark well water, malted barley, oats, hops, and yeast. It's just an Oktoberfest lager, and I don't think they really give any description on here. We'll have to look it up.
And it's, the standard, I shouldn't say standard, but what you normally see on like an Oktoberfest can, you got the blue and white checkered, kind of thing going.
It's called German Road Oktoberfest lager. And again, there's just some flags on it. Nothing.
See. Okay, they have a write-up on this too. Is 5.6% and 26 IBUs. And what Untappd says, German Road Oktoberfest Lager is deep golden in color and features German Hirschberger, Hersbrucker, a noble hop with a spice finish and delicate aroma. The beer has a full-bodied mouthfeel and a clean, crisp finish.
Well, I'm in on that.
So this sounds interesting with this, well, whatever this hop is.
Yeah, we shall see. Oh, yeah, it is.
That looks like what you would expect an Oktoberfest to look like.
It does. It's very golden.
Very nice color.
A little bit of reddish almost.
Yeah, it does have like a tinge of almost a red.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps that's the nobility in it.
Yes. Well, when you're noble.
Well, that's true.
Got a little bit. You can smell the Oktoberfest. I mean, it's a little bit different smell, but not.
And I get a little spice smell. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's different.
If you listened last week, Jim and I did some other Oktoberfest. And we had talked about it there, but it just surprises me how much the style of Marzen or Oktoberfest, how different they taste amongst themselves.
Right.
You know, and I had mentioned the first year that the La Crosse Oktoberfest had their craft beer night, I went down there, my brother and I, and my folks went there, my uncle, and every place in the tent had an Oktoberfest, and every one of them tasted different. And it's just crazy to me. And I know you can say the same thing about a lot of beers, but typically, let's say if everybody had a hazy IPA, they're going to kind of be similar.
Yeah.
Where Oktoberfest, it would just kind of blew me away how vastly different that the breweries can make them taste.
This one is I don't know. I have another taste to formulate a thought on it. It's not what I expected, but not in a bad way. Right.
It's one of those, it's different enough that it makes me more interested.
It's unique, right?
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know. I do get the spicy flavor, and it almost reminds me of, sometimes you get those as a doppelbock. Sometimes you get that little spicy hint at the end.
Yep. Yeah, that's where the spice is, isn't it? It's on the finish.
Right on the very finish. Yeah. It's really good. It's smooth. Some of the Oktoberfest are a little upfront with the hops. Upfront.
Or very, very malty.
Or the grainy malty,
you know what I mean?
Right?
It's like that hits you in the mouth. Where this one is kind of a pretty good balance between the two.
This is one where I feel like I'm going to warm the cup up a little bit and see where it goes from there, because it hints like there's more to it.
Right.
And being ice cold, it may not be the way to drink it. And again,
can I see the can?
It doesn't say on the can to serve at certain temperatures or anything like that.
Ingredients: Ozark well water, malted barley, oats, hops, and yeast. And they do have a fresh local can. They got a canned on date on it. Yep. 7/17/24.
Oh, maybe they have that on the other. Oh, they have that one on the other one too.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna take a picture of that.
I think I'm getting more of the barley in it now that it's warming up.
Yep.
I'm amazed at how smooth it is.
Yeah, I am too. Like I said, it's almost you hate to say the perfect balance, but it's a really, really good balance between the maltiness and the hop.
They told me the Oktoberfest is an old recipe that they've done many, many times.
Sure.
The black walnut one is an old recipe. That's one of their staples. And I can see why. If they keep doing it this way, I mean, it's almost a sin to only do it in October. But
right. Well, that's what last week when Jim and I were doing our Oktoberfest show, I said, when it gets to be this time of year, I don't know what it is, because if they had them all year long,
I wouldn't want
it. Right. But now it's like, oh, Oktoberfest are coming out.
That's right.
And I hate to say it, because I'm the same way with pumpkin beers. So I'm like, oh, the pumpkin beers are coming. Because I do like most pumpkin beers. Some of them are not very good, but it's this time of year. You're
right.
Like, it's just kind of funny. So, the fact that we had, you had an Oktoberfest or such, and like I said, this is one for sure we've never had.
Right.
That it's really cool, and they do. Yeah, it goes right along with the artwork on the other can. I mean, it's the red, white, and blue is kind of their thing, and
fairly simple. And in the tap room that we were in Waynesville, the gal behind the counter was a retired Army, and so she was super nice, and we were talking about just beers we'd had and this, that, and the other. And she says, one of my favorite beers of all time, I just can't find it anymore, or at least here, is Kilkenny. And my ears perked up and I went, really? And she goes, you've had it? I go, I've drank my weight in it, at least twice. And so we chatted, and she was an MP in the Army. She had her first Kilkenny in China, and I want to say that she was in Beijing. I apparently traveled and with what have you, with a group of soldiers and military, and that's the first place that she had it. And then across, she said Germany and other places she had it later on. But she hadn't had it for a long time. And I told her, well, I just recently had several cans. They had it in Canada. So I said, if you make it to Canada, I think you can buy it. I don't know if we'll ever get it here.
Right.
So I don't know. My in-laws are coming back from Canada now, and I put in an order to bring some back. We'll see if they remembered.
See if they're in trouble or
not. If they did, I will be shipping one to the tap room in Waynesville, and just saying from your friend in Minnesota and shipping it to her. But yeah, it was It was a great visit in that tap room.
You know, it's funny because I had never had Kilkenny either. You had told me about it, you know, a number of years ago. And then where I had it wasn't quite as exotic as Beijing, China. I had it in Peoria, Illinois.
Yep.
They actually have 3 different Irish pubs down there, but the one we went into, and it was one of the first times I think that we were there. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is the beer that you were telling me about. And if I remember right, I took a picture and sent it to you, and I cannot repeat what the text coming back said.
I might have said some naughty words.
Yeah, there was, not very friendly if I remember right. But that was the first time that I had ever had it, and it was really good.
Phenomenal.
And it's like, man, but then ever since then, they haven't had it, you know. So
it's a mystery why they don't just bring it over.
Mm-hmm.
But,
well, yeah, because didn't you say it's made by the same people that
it's Guinness?
It's Guinness, yeah. So how many bars do we know that have Guinness on tap, but they don't have?
Well, and the fact that they had it in cans with a widget in Canada, so why wouldn't they have it?
Yeah, well, you must be able to get it. So
I'm sure there's some ingredient that the U.S. FDA doesn't like or something.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't want to know about.
This one is maintaining its smoothness. Now that it's warmed up, I do get more barley and more of that Oktoberfest style grains up front, but it's still just a little bit of spice at the end. It's really...
But still, that maltiness up front is not overpowering.
No, it's smooth.
It is a little more prominent, but it's not...
It's still very smooth.
I like this.
I would say on this one, I'd have to go, for an Oktoberfest. I would have to probably go about a 3.5. This is a really good one.
Yeah.
I like the smoothness. I like the little bit of spice. It's just kind of there that a lot of them don't have. It's not in your face up front, which too many of them, even Sam Adams, I can have 1 or 2 of them, but it's really up front and in your face.
Yep.
Still good, but you can't let those get very warm.
Right. Yep. You got to kind of drink them cold.
This would be one that I could see putting in a big mug and sipping on it for an hour or two, in some random tent in Germany, right?
An hour or two?
No, a big mug. Big mug. Okay. Really big. I
was going to say, you're going to nurse it or
no,
what?
Well,
No, this is good. I'm not going to go a 3.5, but I'm definitely going like a 3.1. 3.2. I'll go 3.2 actually. I do like this. I mean, this is one where I think a lot of people, you could give it to a new person and they're not going to get turned off by it. Cause some of those other ones, like you'd said, when it's, really malty up front, that grain taste, I think sometimes people are like, oh, that's a strong flavor, and they get turned off. Where this one, like I said, it's a really good balance between, that and everything else in it. I like it. I think, they do a good job. I mean, the other beers you had there, they must have been.
Like I said, the sour, I had a sip of the Old Tom Porter, which was ironic because my father-in-law Tom had that. So
he's old,
so I tried that. Was very, very smooth porter. A lot of roasted notes in it. I had I had the sour. That was the blackberry sour. The raspberry was out. I have to go back through my notes. I had their pale ale, bronze back pale ale, which was a really good pale ale. A little hoppier than I expected to start with, but not bad enough to go, I'm not finishing this, right? My mother-in-law had some hazy something, and I think it was 60 IBUs or 70. She likes that crazy slap your nostrils type beer. But overall, that was a really good trip and a good find.
Yeah.
If I ever get back down that way or at least close by, I'll for sure at least look for their beer.
Yeah, no doubt.
But they did. I know we went to the bar next door and they had several of them on tap that they, obviously I would think next door they could just roll the kegs, probably through a shared doorway or something. Yep. But yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah, I wish they distributed this up here because this is a really good October. Well, in that black walnut
one.
I wish they did that one.
For sure. Again, I wish I would have brought little car and driving a long ways. I wish I could have brought more of just that one back.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. So going forward, since we just did an Oktoberfest, it turns out I have several others that we've not had. So we're going to go on a little bit of a theme. Not on purpose. It just happened that way.
It's that time of year, so.
It is true. And then here in a minute, we'll have to go. I have some meat candy on the grill. We'll have to take a little break. Yeah. So I think next we're going to stay in Missouri, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so, and again, it's Schlafly, I believe.
Okay.
Is how you pronounce it. Their Oktoberfest, it says it's an amber lager. It is 5.5%. We'll have to look it up. And again, thank you, Untappd, for making it available so that I know where Mike and I have had them before.
It's like he's stalking me.
That's true. Schlafly Oktoberfest is a traditional Marzen with a toasted malt aroma and slight caramel taste. This rich amber lager is balanced by German noble hops, while the lager yeast ferments cold and slow, creating a crisp beer available seasonally.
Okay, so here you said 5.5,
5.5.
and it's 25 IBUs, so it's going to be a little bit more. And what Untappd says is our Oktoberfest is a traditional Bavarian Marzen with a toasty malt aroma and slight caramel taste. This rich amber lager is balanced by the use of German noble hops, while the lager yeast ferments cold and slow, creating a smooth, crisp beer.
There you go.
And this one's in a bottle.
This is a bottle.
So the first two are cans, but this one's a little bit lighter in color.
Slightly light
Than the first one.
More of a caramely color.
Yep.
And a similar label. The blue and white.
The blue and white.
Fairly simple.
Yeah, it definitely has an Oktoberfest aroma to it.
This one smells grainier.
Yes.
Now, this is out of St. Louis, Missouri. I know nothing about Schlafly. I think it's how you pronounce it. And if not, I'm sorry. I apologize. They did have a pumpkin lager as well, and I did not pick that one up. Again, limited space. I have a small car.
Well, did you really need to bring your clothes back?
That's true. I could have thrown away some socks. And been fine.
This one definitely has a much stronger, more pronounced, like that grain, the malty type flavor to it.
It's right up front. Yep. Similar grains, but way more prominent.
Yes, I would say that one definitely, that tastes like what most people think an Oktoberfest would taste like.
More, I guess you would say more traditional, but we're not in Germany, so we're not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Again, it's a lot more grainy. I told somebody one time that wheat beers always taste dusty to me, and that's the grainy part of it where it seems like, well, that's probably not supposed to be there, and like you want to blow the top of the lid off to make sure that it's still good.
It's kind of funny that you say that, being dusty, because there's a gentleman that has a YouTube channel, but he's into bourbon. Okay. Every once in a while he does pick up bourbon or barrel aged beers and stuff, but he's bourbon. And that's what he used to describe some of them as like a dusty
taste.
Taste to it. And it was like, that's kind of crazy.
That's what this one has got. It's more upfront.
Like I said, this is more of what you would expect, I think.
No spice at the end.
No.
Not as smooth.
No.
So I always think too, Oktoberfest do it to me. The wit beers do it to me. Just a standard wit beer. Always, for some reason, I get burps. Right? And it's not the carbonation, it's the beer that does it. But Oktoberfests are always one I got to sip. You can't just take a drink of it. You got to sip it. But it has to have something to do with the hops or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure it's got something to do with that. Yeah. Like I said, dude, this is a good one too. I'm not knocking it, but it's definitely, like I had said earlier, how the same style, but they're two vastly different tastes to them.
I'm not getting the caramel.
No.
At all. And maybe again, as we sip this and let it warm up, maybe it will. Some of those sweeter notes sometimes don't come out until temperature gets proper. Yeah, and I think that some of the, definitely, my opinion, I think that the grain kind of overpowers that. It does.
And caramel.
And it's possible that, again, that there is a caramel finish, but the grainy, the Marzen part of it is a little high. Not a bad one at all. It's just I feel like it's not as smooth. Yep. Like if I had to pick one or the other, I would definitely go back to the German
Piney,
road.
Yeah, the Piney River one is going to be higher for me as well.
But this is a good beer. Don't get me wrong. And
I was going to say this one is what you would expect, what you would think a classic Oktoberfest would taste like.
This is a very traditional taste. For them.
Yeah, so for score, I'll go first on this one. I honestly like it, but it definitely has that more upfront right away. I'm going to go with 3. I do like it. I could drink several of them. This is, like I said, I think this is what an Oktoberfest you think of as your classic taste. So I'm not ripping it at all. But like I said, just that other one, I think very unique, very well balanced. So that's my difference between them. And this is still a very good one. Just that, like I said, I just kind of rate it a little bit lower.
I would go, I don't know if I'd go a 3. I could go 3, 2.9, 2.8, 3, right in that range. So if you wanted to quote unquote lock me in on a number, I would say a a 2.9. Again, and maybe it's just a little biased because we had a really smooth one and I like them to be a little smoother. This one is not a bad beer at all. If it was an Oktoberfest, there are a bunch of them in a cooler, I wouldn't shy away from grabbing one of these.
Yeah, like I said, I just think this is more of what your classic, what you think of as an Oktoberfest.
And actually, as it comes up to more towards a warmer temperature, that grain starts to mellow a little bit.
A little bit.
So I would say, again, some of these we always talk about need to have directions. Serve at 50 degrees, serve at 45 degrees. This one might be better if it's a little bit warmer than, because it's starting to mellow out a little bit.
Yep.
Or I'm getting drunk. I'm not sure.
Well, we're only 3 in.
That's
so
true.
It must be mellowing.
Must be
what
mellowing.
I'm guessing.
That's what I'm telling the officer. I mean, sorry.
Well, good thing we don't have to travel.
That is
anywhere,
correct.
So
we are stationary.
We're just
today.
stationary. So no, these are both. All of the 3 of these have been very surprising.
This is not a bad beer. I think this one's probably in the times I went on a search. Well, and for anybody that's ever been to Kansas and had Tallgrass Brewing Buffalo Sweat, I was on a search for Buffalo Sweat.
Yes,
I was unsuccessful.
That was my. I still have a couple of them in the fridge yet.
I'm unsuccessful at this point in finding it. But this particular brewery, and like I said, I apologize if I'm saying it, Schlafly, I think is what it is. Otherwise, you have to say Schlafly, and I don't think that's
I don't think that's it. But it's cool.
They do have quite a few beers, and it's more of a, I wouldn't say mainstream brewery, but I think more distributed than Piney River. It's mid-sized or whatnot. I did see a bunch of their beers.
I'm just going to look up because I think I've had.
You have had a couple of theirs.
I had a pumpkin ale. Oh, look, an Oktoberfest.
And not this one, though.
No, this, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's, yeah.
You have had one of their pumpkin beers because I looked it up and I said, oh, crap, he hasn't had that one.
Yeah.
And then one of the other pumpkin beers, I think maybe it was Boulevard. It was another Kansas or Missouri brewery that you'd had that I saw on the shelf on my quest for Buffalo Sweat, yet failed.
Yeah, Buffalo Sweat was like my go-to.
It's so
stout.
Good. It's so good.
You know, yeah. Oh, it's you and I think are really similar in the fact that we drink a lot of any kind of beer. As far as you know, it doesn't matter if it's a sour, if it's an IPA, we'll drink it. You know, we'll try it. You know, Jim is he's getting better. You know, but he still, you know, sours and stuff he doesn't.
I think better is a strong term. I think Jim is becoming more tolerant.
More tolerant.
Yeah.
There you go. It's one of those things where I just really enjoy this part of the podcast where we can try all these different kinds from different places. But then getting back to what I was talking about for Buffalo Sweat, we've tried a lot of different stouts.
Oh,
you know, and big stouts and all that. But a lot of those, it's like, well, if you're going to have a can of this, it's going to take you a while to drink it. You don't, you know, where Buffalo Sweat was a real easy drinking.
It wasn't super strong.
Right.
It's sweet, but it's also got the roasted notes of a stout. It was, did that one have lactose in it? I don't remember if it did or not. It's not a milk stout.
No, it didn't. But whatever they did, it's still good.
But you could sit down. I mean, you're not going to go beer for beer with somebody drinking.
Oh,
swill.
You're normal, yeah.
But it's one that was easy drinking. You didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to make a decision. You just grab one out, pour it in a glass, and drink it. It was really good that way.
Exactly. So, you know, and then when they closed for that period of time, then I switched to Oscar's from Sand Creek, and that's, of course, now they're not doing the greatest.
They're not doing the greatest either.
But Buffalo Sweat came back, but they're not distributed up by us. So anytime Brian goes to Kansas is like,
I couldn't find it in Missouri either. So I think it's just Kansas. Now, I have family in Wichita. Now, that's where Tallgrass Brewing is out of, or it used to be.
Yeah.
I think it still is. So when I was down, I actually had several of theirs. This has been several years ago. I had Buffalo Sweat, and I had a couple of the other random beers by them. One was not good. The other one was another darker one. I want to say it was a amber or a brown ale. That was really good. But again, you know, I was within 10 miles of the brewery.
Right.
And it's funny that Buffalo Sweat, the only places that I can find it reliably in Kansas is at Walmart.
That's wild.
And not to say bad things about that, but it's funny that one of my favorite craft beers that you can only find locally in Kansas is only distributed to Walmart.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
wild.
only, but I know in my hometown of Emporia, Kansas, the last time I brought stuff back a couple of years ago, I bought them out of it in one of the liquor stores. And the guy goes, yeah, we can't hardly get it, and we can't keep it on the shelf when we do.
Well, do you remember how They did have some variants on Buffalo Sweat too. They had like one that had cinnamon and all this, and it's really good.
Didn't they have a white stout?
Yes.
And I had the white stout on tap.
Really
that was
good.
really good.
You know what I mean? And it's like, man. So that was always the bummer when that happened, when they closed up. But then it is Wichita Brewing that has bought. I don't know if they bought Tallgrass or if they bought. Well, they must, because they still use the same name.
I think Tallgrass was purchased.
Yeah, so I'm sure they got the recipes and all that, and to me it tastes just as good.
Yeah, we used to be able to get it at the big liquor stores.
Yep.
In
Up here,
Minnesota,
around us,
Wisconsin,
and actually one of the some guys that my brother worked with, they had started a craft beer bar in Forest City, Iowa, and my brother was telling them about Buffalo Sweat, so they brought a keg of it in to try it, and they became the largest seller of Buffalo Sweat in the entire state of Iowa. You know, and it was just crazy because they're like, yeah, we put it on and everybody goes crazy for it, you know. So that they've actually closed because it was the couple that owned it basically was working all the time there.
Right.
Kind of one of these things where whatever was going on. But so it was kind of a bummer. But yeah, anytime you went there, Buffalo Sweat was on tap until they closed. But but it was just kind of funny that they were the largest in the state.
It's crazy, you know, and it doesn't even have to be beer to see oddities. Like there's a bar downtown, and they had a sign at one point that they sold more Jameson whiskey, and the local was the bar's name, more Jameson than any other bar in the world at one point, but for sure in the United States. And I thought, how can that be? It's Irish whiskey in downtown Minneapolis. But there was now I don't think they have much of that now. I think O'Shaughnessy, which is local, I think they sell a lot of Keeper's Heart whiskey, but that gets us away from the beer talk. But again, to see that as a place that you frequent or you go to, that they sell more than anybody else in the world is just crazy.
Well, it's kind of like where we're at up here in the Northwoods at Callahan Lake Resort. She's the largest seller of lime vodka in the state for sure,
and for good reason. It's not that good of stuff. I mean, no,
but when you have a big Charlie, it's very good.
It's a niche market. Let's put it that way, and one that you've vested heavily in.
Yes, my wife has invested in that many times over.
So I do have one more Oktoberfest while we're on it before we.
So as you're getting that out. Brian, you had sent me an article, and this is, I guess, a little craft beer news, that Molson Coors is selling their craft breweries, or they agreed to sell it to another company out of Canada.
They're divesting.
Divesting, yes, which is interesting to me. I'm just guessing that they have, we can kind of focus on that, or we just keep selling the mainstream stuff. And
I just feel like, and you and I talked a little bit about it, but I feel like the divestiture of the craft brewing is probably because they can't keep up the volume.
Yep.
And if they're going to send a truck, then they want to have X amount of kegs or cans or bottles or whatever. And then again, it's a niche market. And unless you go, all of these, I think back to the first time I ever saw Blue Moon. What is that? It's a Belgian, whatever, you know what I mean? And it was something different and everybody went crazy for it. And then it just became a mainstay.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of, I would say in the United States, like even Guinness for a long time was only one or two bars ever had it. It's an oddity, this, that, and the other, and it became a mainstay. Now everybody, Guinness, that's so strong. It's 4.6.
Yeah.
It's not that strong. It is just a basic dark beer, your basic stout. If you would take Guinness, I think you could start with Guinness and make almost any stout and not be bad. So again, I'm surprised that I looked at the list, and I wouldn't be surprised if they divested all of that and took some of the recipes. Right?
Oh, sure.
I think of it as one of those things. If they can't make it in the mainstream market with it, then we'll let somebody else deal with the. Now, I'm wondering if part of that sale wasn't also a scenario where the Canadian company purchased it, and was it
Tilray or something like that.
They purchased it, and I'm wondering if there's not a distribution agreement between Canada now in the U.S.
That could be.
That's their gateway. Yep. There's a lot of business inside stuff that we don't, know about.
We'll never know about, yeah.
But you have to wonder if it wasn't sold to a Canadian company on purpose, and then that opens the gate for back and forth, right?
Now that you mention that is kind of weird because all they sold 4 breweries, and they're all in the States, and they sold it to a Canadian company. So that is kind of, which again, I'm a big craft beer guy naturally. So I'm always glad to see when craft beer companies are either owned by themselves or not owned by these huge conglomerates, because I think at times that's not their focus. They were just trying to reap as much money out of this market as they could.
It's also interesting too, because if I remember right, Coors owns Molson, which happens to be a Canadian beer.
Yeah.
Right. So there's kind of this crisscross thing that I think there was already inroads to maybe strengthen that across the northern border tie. I don't know that for sure. This is all speculation.
This is all our conspiracy theories.
That's right.
Now. All right.
That's a separate podcast.
Well, what's the Oktoberfest we got now?
So the last one I have is Free State Brewing, which is in Lawrence, Kansas. Probably the first time I ever had craft beer that I remember. Freshly 21, I was a swimming coach, and I went out with some coaches to the Free State Brewery in Lawrence, Kansas, and it's an old monastery. Brother Epp was the brewer that was there. They quote him on all this stuff. And I had a shirt for a long time that said, because without beer, things do not seem to go as well. And that was Brother Epp. So this is their Oktoberfest. It's a pretty cool looking label. We're away from the...
Yeah, that is different label than all
completely
the other ones.
Away from the others. It's kind of I'm going to call it a maroon and orange label. I believe there's a red tail hawk on there, which is their logo. And if I get in the proper light, I might be able to read it. Munich malts and prized German hops combine in this deliciously malty Oktoberfest lager. Enjoy the world style with new world traditions. And underneath it says #because without beer.
So Untappd has a little write-up on it too. So it's 5.4% and 25 IBUs. There's some interesting information here. It says Oktoberfest is one of the most celebrated traditions in German culture. Though Kansas may be a long way from Munich, we share the sentiment. Our Oktoberfest was only the second specialty beer we brewed, and the original batch was first tasted back in 1989. To this day, it continues to be one of our most popular brews, with folks seeking it out both at the brew pub and on the shelves of their local liquor stores. So this was their second craft beer, so to speak. Beer. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Well, let's get a couple fresh glasses here.
And if you're wondering what he's opening these bottles with, is a chapstick.
It's chapstick.
It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen.
Back in my younger days, and I didn't take care of myself, I used to use the back of a lighter.
Oh, okay.
And I don't smoke anymore, haven't for a long time, but chapstick is about the same shape.
So it's muscle memory, you're telling me.
Basically, yeah. Like, I don't even have to think about it.
All right. This looks like your classic Oktoberfest color to me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same color as the Schlafly.
Yep. As that last one.
Schlafly, for sure. Very mazy.
Yep. That one is definitely not as front.
No. The smell made me think it was going to be.
Yep.
And the finish is a little smoother.
That's pretty good too.
It's a good beer. There's nothing wrong with this. It's right between the other two as far as smooth.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good beer. It really is. I kind of get a nutty taste to it.
A little bit.
Like what I want to say, the bitters or the oil. I think about nut oil, peanut oil, and all that kind of stuff, but for sure, in like black walnuts and whatever, there's a bitterness there, kind of a nutty bitterness in the middle of it, which doesn't put me off at all. In fact, it tastes good. But
yeah, that's interesting. Like I said, it's not quite as smooth as the German Road from Piney River, but it's a good one.
As far as aroma, I smell way more of the grains and the German hops.
Oh yeah,
noble hops, whatever it is. Aromatically, it's way stronger than the other two.
Yes, for sure.
Which made me not cringe, but it went, oh well, this one's going to be one of those.
This is going to be up front, and it's not. That's what's surprising.
It truly isn't. It's
again, these three Oktoberfest, all the same style.
Yep.
Very different. The
first one was very different. These two are more in line.
With kind of what we're used to. But yeah, they're all. None of these were clunkers by any means. These are all good.
This is a good one. This is like I said, it's in the middle. Yeah, that's really good.
Yep. Well, what are you thinking on a score on that one?
Boy, this one's a 3 all day for sure. Maybe even up to a 3-1. It's just smoother. Like I always talk about drinkability, right? Can you sit down and enjoy one, or you're going to have to drink it fast because it gets bitter, or you're going to have to let it warm up because you can't. You can just start to drink this. I think out of a bottle, it would be just fine. It doesn't have to be in a glass. Yeah, I would probably go 3-1 on this one.
Okay, I was going to go with 3. I think you're 100% right on what you said, that the aroma is definitely the strongest of the 3. And then it's kind of in between as far as how smooth it is between the first one and then that
Definitely
last one we had. But very good. I think this is another one that anybody could try it, and they're not going to get turned off.
No.
Like I said, the aroma, I was the same way. I thought, oh boy, this could be strong. And this very mellow flavor. And it's like, wow, I'm impressed.
And they're all right in that 5.5, 5.4, 5.6 range, right? So none of them are overpowering as far as the alcohol goes.
Yep.
None of Oktoberfest usually are.
Typically. Yeah, like I said, last week Jim and I had that barrel-aged one, and that was 9.2. Mm-hmm. Amazing. That's probably the best Oktoberfest I've ever had. Just because, I'm sure, because it doesn't hurt when it's barrel-aged.
I was going to say.
But
if you like that kind of thing.
You didn't have a boozy taste to it either, and it kind of mellowed out some of the maltiness of, like this, your normal Oktoberfest. But anyway, yeah, boy, I tell you, last week's ones, they were all really good. These three have been really good.
This is, and this one's mellowing out a little bit as it warms up. And that's true of most of them, right? Right out of the bottle, right out of the can, cold. My wife makes fun of me all the time because I'm gotta let it warm up. Well, it's true.
Yep.
You really do have to be able to get all of, and I've said it before on a different podcast that, to truly see what the brewer wanted you to experience. Sometimes it's got to be warmer. Sometimes it's got to be ice cold. And again, Oktoberfest is one of those things where, again, I think about big tents and bonfires and people with giant glass mugs wandering around all day just drinking beer, and it's not cold, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, in my mind, and I'm sure that's terribly stereotyping Germans drinking beer in October, but I think about like the Renaissance Festival and whatnot, where it's that similar thing where they didn't have coolers back then. It's the same recipe that's been around for 1,000 years, probably. Maybe not that long, but close to it. No, this is another really solid beer.
It's a very solid Oktoberfest. Any of these, if the people out there that are listening, any of these would be a great one to try. I mean, they're very good.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess what else do we have, or do we?
I got two more. We're gonna go off the rails of the October session.
Boy.
I'm gonna finish this one, and we're gonna take a little break because I gotta look and see what our meat candy looks like.
Oh boy, you go check that. All right, Brian. So what is the next one that we have?
So I got another one from Free State Brewing. Again, I've had a lot of their different beers. I think I've given some to you. They make a really good amber ale. There's a bunch of the Copperhead IPA was pretty good. This one caught my eye, and as much for the label as anything else.
So have you had this one before or not? Okay.
The only one that I'd had in this entire group is that Black Walnut.
The Black one. Okay.
So this is Yakamaniac IPA. And again, the label kind of caught my eye.
Yakamaniac IPA.
Yep. And this says on the label, if I can get the sweat on the label here, it says, combines the best American hops into a monster of hop aromas and flavors. It's alive with juicy tropical fruit and citrus character. Hashtag because without beer.
Interesting. When you were reading that, I was looking on Untappd, and they've got pretty much the same write-up. But they do say that it has Columbus, Centennial, and Citra hops.
It's going to be in our face. I know it is.
And it's 7.1%, 68
It's going to be a high one. And I knew it was going to be. The label on has got this crazy looking wizard or scientist.
Say, like a mad scientist.
It's like a hop scientist.
Yeah.
This will be one where I've got 5 more in my mother-in-law will for sure drink them.
It'll be interesting to see because, if we've talked about it a number of times on here that your IBU rating at times is so misleading.
Right.
Sometimes it's like it says it's going to be, what you think is hoppy and it's not, And other times, this is only this. And you're like, whoa, that's way hoppier.
That's way hoppier.
It definitely looks like an IPA.
Yep.
Very clean, that color you'd imagine. Oh, you can smell the hops.
You can
smell the hops.
I haven't even picked up the glass and I can smell the hops. Very, very, that Citra and, boy, that goes away though.
I was going to say, it is not nearly as hoppy as I was expecting.
Well, so the IBUs are also aromatic, right? So it's not all taste.
Right.
Wow. I thought that was going to be way stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. When I was looking at it, I was like, okay.
Well, and even now, when I still smell it, although I've got the downwind of our meat candy, I'll sit over here. All I'm smelling is barbecued pork.
I smell hops.
That's a lot of hops. But it doesn't translate.
No.
Which is crazy because normally it does.
That is impressive. I know, if you're not an IPA fan, you probably wouldn't like it. It's not it doesn't have where it dries your mouth out.
No.
It doesn't have anything like that. You don't get that, how that sometimes you get that nasty
burn.
burn or taste in the back of your throat when you drink him. This is nothing. It's very clean, very smooth.
I'm very surprised in the fact that I do get the citrus. So many times they tell you there's a citrus finish or a citrus notes in it, and I'm like, ugh, all I taste is hops.
Yep.
Not on the finish, but in the body of this, I do get that kind of grapefruity, lemon, maybe it's lime, whatever. I do get some of that.
Yep, I agree with you. I definitely get like the grapefruit or some kind of citrus.
68 seems a little high.
Seems a little high to me, but like you said, if I don't, like my brother had explained, there's a couple ways you can do it. Most places have their own little chemistry lab.
Right.
Or they have a mathematical equation that's like 3 pages long because you have to factor in everything.
Right. Yeah. The pH of the water. And we got to do,
the time of the day. It's just kind of crazy.
Is the moon a gibbous or is it a waning crescent?
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, this is
as far as
would I drink a whole bunch of this? Probably not, but it's not bad.
No. I'm going to take another sip and see before I formulate this word. It's remarkably smooth for an IPA.
Considering the aroma.
And the alcohol, it's 7.1. 7.1. It seems like usually when we have these IPAs, or even we've had a few Imperial IPAs, right? They get away from the taste of the beer and they just throw stuff in it. Like I was listening, you were talking about with Jim, where they just threw extra hops in to make it from, around the Horn to India. They didn't get away from, I think, probably the taste profile that they wanted.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not the fact that I just had some barbecue, but there's some almost smoked notes in here or toasted notes.
Could be.
Do you get that at all?
Could be. I was just factoring that into the barbecue, but it could be.
I feel like there's like a roasted at the end of it, towards the end of it.
I'm just sitting here smelling this and just thinking, man, it's going to be hoppy. But when you drink it, you do. There is hop. Don't get me wrong, but it's like they're gone.
This is no more than like, again, we were talking about a minute ago, when craft beer becomes mainstream, right? So Summit IPA was, I remember when it was, something new. What is that? Nobody I hate it. I love it. I hate it. Now it's every day, right? Yeah. It's just a mainstay. This is no taste-wise. It's more complex. But as far as being hoppy and in your face, I don't feel like it's much more than that.
No,
to me,
I agree with you. I definitely agree.
I still get a little roasted note, and my taste buds could be burnt, but
no, it's good. I don't mind it.
If you're an IPA fan, this would for sure be one to try if you ever get the chance. I mean, you're gonna have to go to Kansas to get it, but.
We had talked about it before, and like a new person, I don't know if I would recommend them to start on an IPA with this one, just because I think the aroma is going to scare some people, just because it's very hoppy smell, but the taste is not. Yeah. But I think a new person would form that in their head, thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's going to be so hoppy,"
Yeah, I still say the best pale ale I've ever had was that one, the Hinterland.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
The 29th anniversary or whatever it was.
Yeah.
This is not a bad beer. IPA wise, it's way smoother than I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
It's way, I don't want to say smellier. That's a bad word. I shouldn't say
it has
that.
more aroma.
It's
smellier.
From the aroma, I thought it was going to be really, really like tugging on my nose hairs.
Yep.
Strong, but it's really not. It's very smooth for an IPA.
So what are you thinking on a score?
Knowing that it's an IPA going in, I'm more than pleasantly surprised. Am I going to drink 4 or 5 of them? No. If somebody goes, I have one and we're sitting around going to have barbecue and whatever, I would probably take one. So to me, on an IPA, geez, that puts it up there close to a 3. I would say a 3. It's average being 2.5. I would say for sure it's a solid 3.
I was going to go with 2.9. So right in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think... it's hard.
The crazy label pushes me up.
The artwork. Well, there you go. You add that tenth of a point for the artwork because it is a cool label. Like I said, I think it's a solid for anybody that has, does like IPAs. I think they'd really like it.
Yeah, definitely. And again, you have to be ready for it. If you're tentative at all on pale ales, on India pale ales, or really hoppy stuff, you're gonna have a problem just getting past the rim of the glass. Once you taste it, it's way smoother than it smells.
I agree 100% with you. Cool. So we got one beer to go.
But the picture of this Yakamaniac, and I teased it the last time. So Yakamaniac, and I was a maniac, and this is my story about my muskrat. So I teased it last time. I got to tell the story. So when my daughter was a freshman in high school, she was in the FFA, and she was doing small animal state, and they had to get on the bus, and they had to be dressed up and all of that. So she was with mom getting ready. It's 5:20 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. Got to be on the bus by 6, and we lived close to the high school, so it wasn't like I had to plan for that. So here I am in my flannel pants and a t-shirt, or maybe even a sweatshirt, I don't remember. And she's getting ready to get in the car. So I back the car out of the garage, and I have 2 sips of coffee in me. It's 5:30 in the morning, and I see something dart behind my trash cans and into the garage. And I'm half sleepy and not really paying too much attention, but enough to know that an animal just ran into my garage. And not only did it run into my garage, it ran right to the door that goes into my house, and paws on the door and is sniffing like the corner, like it's trying to determine what's on the other side. I know that my dog and my wife, my daughter are on the other side. So I bail out of the old Ford Fusion that I used to have, and I go trucking into the garage. Well, this muskrat had somehow, some way been hiding behind my trash cans. And when I backed out, I must have spooked him. Well, he went in the garage, and he's trying to get in the house. And I know that if that door opens, then pandemonium is going to happen, right? I'm going to have a black lab freaking out and growling and barking. I'm going to have a wife screaming and running up the stairs. I'm going to have a daughter that just got her hair done and her FFA stuff all it was going to be bad. So I ran in there, and not having really interacted with muskrats before. I know the song, but that's about it.
Right.
And so I tried to shoo him out. Well, they're stubborn. I didn't know this, but I know now they're stubborn. So I'm looking around for anything to try and direct him out the door. And my son had an old set of golf clubs, and there was a 7-iron laying on the shelf. So I grabbed the 7-iron. It's left-handed, and I'm trying to scare him out. I'm not an inherently violent person, but I'll use force as necessary. And so I'm trying to scare him out. Well, apparently this muskrat has an aversion to golf clubs, because he turned around and hissed at me. And I thought, oh, this is how this is going to go. So I start to get him he's starting to startle and move. I'm poking at him. He's starting to go towards the big garage door that's open. The car is still running. The door is open, and I glance over at the door, and I thought, oh, crap. If he runs out of here, what's better than a garage than a nice warmed up car? So that freaked me out a little bit. And I don't remember what the words I said exactly, but whatever it was triggered him to launch himself at me. So in my best John Daly swing, I took a full swing, smacked him with the 7-iron, left-handed, mind you. I sliced him over the Ford and into the yard. Never touched the car. It wasn't my best shot ever, but I did get him out of the garage. And as soon as he gets out of the garage and I see him in the grass, he's not moving, I turn around and the door opens. And my daughter, who is just panicked as can be just to go to school, has no idea what's going on. My wife stares at me because I got a crazed look on my face and a golf club. And I'm breathing hard, and I'm standing there like probably a caveman with a club. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'll explain later. So I also don't want to tell my daughter, who's going to FFA for small animals, that I just killed one in the garage. So we're backing out of the driveway. Well, unbeknownst to me, while all this is going on, he wasn't quite a goner yet, and he crawled in the driveway. So I backed over him, thankfully not under a tire. And my daughter says, "What's that?" I go, "It's nothing." And we just went to the school. And I'll forward you the picture. There's a picture. I didn't realize they got this big, but sure enough, I'm a size 10 shoe, and I'm pretty sure he was about a size 18. He was
oh my word,
a great big ugly muskrat, buck teeth and all. And so yeah, that was a crazy morning in the household.
Wow,
no question.
That's crazy.
So yeah, when the Yakamaniac, when I saw that, that's going to be my lead into that story, because I was a whack-a-maniac that morning.
Like a whack-a-mole.
Like a whack-a-mole, except for it was a whack-a-muskrat.
Whack-a-woodchuck. Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, I had told the story on here before about when we had the possum in the garage. Mm-hmm. And that's the same kind of thing. It's just like, they're fine. Just as long as you stay out of my house or garage or whatever, no problem. Same thing with bats. Oh,
yeah, bats or something else too.
If you're outside, great, because they eat a lot of bugs. But when you're in the house, not so much.
No, they have a place in the outdoor, and they eat lots of bugs, and that's fine as long as they stay outdoors.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I don't have as many bugs in the house as what's out. So you need to stay out. So
that'll tease. I do have a bat story. We'll have to save that for.
We'll save that
episode.
for the next one.
So we got one more in here, and again, we're going to go off on a tangent because that's just the way I work sometimes. Now, It's a craft brewery, but it's not a craft brewery. Boulevard has been around for a long time.
Yep.
Again, Boulevard Pale Ale was a craft beer for a long time, and now it was a mainstay. And I love the fact that Boulevard, as well as Summit and some of the others, have kind of stayed to their roots, right? They do their bulk, what do I want to say, mainstream beers. Summit Pale Ale, you got Boulevard Pale Ale. There's a couple others of Boulevards that they do, but they go back to the well, right? They go back to their roots. They do some craft beers. They do some limited edition stuff. Boulevard's got, I think, a smokestack series. Liney's used to do it with the Big Eddie series,
Big Eddie, yeah.
but they're kind of staying true. So this one is a Boulevard Brewing, which I believe is Kansas City, Missouri. It is a Chardonnay Cask Saison. So it's cask aged. And I don't think it has much. It doesn't have any information on it other than it's cask aged. So we're going to have to do a little bit of lookup here. Boulevard started in 1989, which I already knew because that was my freshman year in high school. I remember seeing it. But I also remember in college, during the summer back from college, we used to run up to Kansas City. And that's back when you could go to a Royals game for, $5, go sit in GA. Yeah. And we'd go and stop at one of the tap rooms that had Boulevard Pale Ale beer.
Okay.
Or Boulevard tap rooms and try a bunch of their different stuff. So I realized then that I wasn't the biggest pale ale guy, right? But Boulevard Pale Ale was kind of set the standard, right? Summit IPA kind of set the standard. So when people think of a pale ale, Boulevard's like a measuring stick, just like I would say the same thing with Summit. So this is a cask aged, which is kind of an odd term.
Untappd has a write up on it.
Oh, okay.
You didn't. It's 9.5%.
I figured it was stronger.
35 IBUs. I'm guessing we're going to get a definite kind of a wine
with the Chardonnay. You would think.
So here's what they say: indulge in the elegance of age. Chardonnay Cask Saison, a beer of exquisite craftsmanship. The warmth of white wine plays with a refined Saison to create a symphony of fruity, floral aromas and woody notes. Aged lovingly in Chardonnay oak barrels from the Napa region. This libation, they're using big fancy words here. I'm telling you,
it sounds dirty.
This libation conjures a spirit de jour in every sip.
Interesting.
Boy, they went full
right
wine
from
person.
wooden libations to wizards and okay.
They went big time on that.
Now I will say
I have never heard of this one.
This may be one of the coolest bottle caps we've seen. Got like a picture of their factory or their brewery.
Yep.
It's really cool looking. It is the color of a dark Chardonnay. Almost, well, you know what? It's about the same color as that IPA we just had.
Yeah. I was going to say it's what you would expect. Honestly, it's a little bit darker than your Pilsners.
It's a little more lager colored.
Yeah, there you go. Definitely has a white head on it. Oh, it smells like a Saison. The
bottle smells actually winey.
Yeah, when you smell it out of the glass here, it smells like your Saison.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot going on in that.
There's a lot. Yeah, boy, I definitely get.
No wonder they use big words.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot.
There's a lot going on in that, and I'm going to see when it. Give it a couple more tastes.
Yeah.
The finish, I'm not going to lie, is a little bit.
It's on the wine side, right? Yeah, Chardonnays are a winey. They're a strong. I don't want to say aftertaste. Good for cooking, not so much.
Yeah, right.
We're not wine people.
No,
we wine, but not that kind of wine.
Yeah,
wine with an H.
Boy, that's it. Like I said, the aroma is definitely like a Saison,
but it reminds me the aroma of a sparkling wine.
It's definitely. I'm not saying that it's bad in any way, shape, or form. A new person, I would not recommend this. I think the flavor itself is going to be, unless they're definitely into wine.
If they're into wine,
I think they would be happy with it.
It kind of has a champagne taste.
A little bit, yeah.
And maybe that's just the carbonation to start with.
It could be. But this
does not taste 9.5.
No, I give them credit for that. This is very smooth for a 9.5. I would say, would this be my first choice out of the ones that we had today? No, not at all.
It's not. It's not an normal palate either, right?
Correct.
We're stretching it with anything with wine. We're stretching it. If we're not cooking with it,
we've had other ones that have had Chardonnay or what are some of the other like wine casks that we've had?
Zin.
Yep. They're always just a little. They have a lot of wine flavor to it, and I'm just not a wine guy.
This has got quite a bit of Chardonnay flavor to it. But now that the carbonation's going down, it's smoothing out.
Yes, it is.
I'm not offended by it at all.
I say that initial taste when I said
honestly,
the finish was kind of harsh. It's actually smooth though.
It's pretty. I wouldn't say. I don't know what I am yet. It's smooth now. This is one pour and sit, right?
Yep.
I know they got to carbonate it so that it stays and all that, but it's, again, I've just got a little bit. I keep watching. This is one that has the hanger bubbles, I always call them, that are on the bottom that just bubble forever. When I first smelled it, I was surprised I didn't see chunks, right? Normally when you get something that's that type of aromatic, you get floaters, which is, there's nothing wrong with floaters.
No.
But now that the carbonation is going down, it's a pretty smooth,
it's
pretty
actually
smooth ale.
I hate to say it, it's kind of growing on me. You know, I mean, that initial taste, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But then that's why you always say you have to take at least 2 tastes of a beer. You know?
And it's one of those things too where there should be some darned instructions on here to say, please serve it.
Serve this
degrees.
at 70 degrees, or whatever.
Right. It does give 9.5 on here, but it doesn't say. There's the born on date as well.
No, this is.
It's starting to grow on me more. I was Boulevard usually does pretty good on these.
Yeah.
We had their quadruple ale last night, which I hadn't had until last night.
That's a good
probably
one.
not a good one to have on your 5th or 6th one, but
no,
it was still really good. I was surprised.
Yeah.
This is growing on me.
Am I going to go and search out a lot of Chardonnay barrel beers? No. But,
Cask. It's a cask.
Cask. Yeah, that's the fancy.
It's cask aged.
Yes.
They just do that so it's hard to say, I think.
It's just because they're hoity-toity.
Mm-hmm. Do I have to drink this with my pinky up?
Yes,
I'm just
you
asking.
should. You should.
I have to rinse and spit this one.
Wrong pipe.
Yeah, well, don't do that. It is growing on me.
Yeah, I don't mind it as bad.
No, that first
Honestly.
one, that first taste was pretty rough.
Yes, it was. I was kind of like, "Ooh, I'm gonna have to finish this." But now it's like, it's
it's
bad.
way mellow now. I'm like, again,
Boulevard does a good job, honestly. They've had a lot of different barrel aged stuff, and they've all been.
What were the ones? Remember, I bought the 4-pack of 4 different ones.
Yes.
They were all 15%.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And one of them was boozy, and the rest of them were super smooth. And was it plaid something? That was one of them.
The Plaid Habit is one that's aged in like Canadian whiskey
barrels. Yep, with maple syrup.
Yep.
Added.
Yep. So that's a good one. And yeah, I can't remember the other ones, but they were
all smooth.
unique,
Yep.
and they're very good. And I was impressed because it was, a lot of times you don't see a company sell a 4-pack like that where they're 4 different things.
Right.
And that's the cool thing, because most of the time it's here's this 4-pack, here's this 4-pack.
Right.
You get all 4 of the same.
Yeah. Here's $15. Here's $20.
Yeah.
Here's $20. Here's $20.
Yep. So I was impressed. I give them a lot of credit for that. So that was cool.
I'm going to take one more sip before I formulate any plans. But every time I've had it warms up a little. I got less bubbles, and it's better every time.
Yeah, I still get the Saison flavor, because Saisons do have kind of a unique flavor.
And I don't mind Saison.
No, and I was going to say, but I'm not the wine, the Chardonnay flavor has kind of dropped a little bit.
It's up front still.
Yeah.
That Chardonnay flavor is still up front for me. And then it's all Saison after that. And I don't know, I get a little bit of barrel cask. I get a little bit of that taste, because a cask or barrel or something would, right? There is a little bit of that finish, that bitter finish that you get with the barrel aged.
Yes.
That
is there.
Or now a cask aged.
Yep.
But it's starting to grow on me. Honestly, this would be one where it's a 12-ounce bottle and aggressive pour in a 16-ounce glass and then sip it. And I think it'd be really good beer. It would be a really good one to, sit down and have dinner with and sip on it. Or I don't know if you have
being
to.
9.5.
Does it have to be with pasta or fish? I don't know. But at 9.5, they hide it well.
Yes.
For sure.
That they do. It's definitely an easy drinking 9.5. And like I said, if a person isn't into wine or Saison,
right,
this isn't going to be a beer for you. But if you're into either of those, I mean, it's like I said, that first initial taste, I was like, ooh, and now it's not bad.
Well, Saisons are kind of in the
kind of a wheat.
Well, they're kind of in their own silo, like an IPA, right? Pale ales, IPAs, silo. Yep. Saisons are kind of over there by themselves, and I always think of them a little bit with the sours, right?
Yep.
Not a sour, but in that neighborhood.
A little bit of characteristics
right.
that kind of share. Yeah.
But the Saisons, they've done so much stuff with them where some of them are fruited Saisons, and they're like a sweet and sour beer. And then the Saison itself, what was the, let me think for a second. I brought one. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to text you. The fruited Saison that I brought we had a Saison category one time at one of our tastings.
Yep.
And I had a barrel-aged fruited Saison, and it was some weird pineapple, something. was really good.
Yeah.
And then I think I won that category more based on the other crappy ones that were
I was going to say, it
as
wasn't
opposed,
yeah.
but it was way better than everything else. But yeah, this, again, to your point, you're not going to bring somebody into the category and say, hey, try this. Right. It's a little stronger than a normal, but if you like wine, it's kind of with that grandfather, right?
Yep.
If you like the taste of red wine, like this is your gateway drug to get into craft beer.
Exactly.
This could definitely be there with a white wine.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. So what are you going to give for a score, do you think?
I think it really has shocked me. I knew it was stronger, and I knew it was Chardonnay. So going in, I had an expectation of a tart wine flavored, and that first taste, I would have just dumped the rest of it out. However, I think they overcarbonated it for my taste a little bit. Now that it's sitting out, I could probably go a 2.8, 2.9 on this. It really did surprise me that it mellowed out, which was, again, the fact that it mellowed out was crazy to start with, but it's not offensive. I would drink another one if somebody gave it. In fact, I got 3 more of them. But
So you're saying there's a chance.
So there's a shot. We can probably have another one. Would I put it ahead of the Black Walnut or the one of the Oktoberfest? Probably not. But it would be one if I wanted something a little different, or if I wanted something, if I was feeling that I need to have something a little tart, because occasionally I'll have a sour at home, or one that I know that I still have some of that Goose Island tart cherry. I have one of those I just had the other day. It's like, that sounds kind of good. That fits a niche, right?
Yep. And Saison is one of those categories that I, like personally myself, I don't drink a whole lot of them. You know what I'm saying? You're not going out to buy Saisons for myself, which I probably should, but it's this one, like I said, from the get-go, I was worried about it just from the aroma and such. And then that first taste, I was like, ooh,
and the aroma's gone too. That's the thing.
Gone.
That's why I think that's a carbonation.
It's got to be, because it was just a weird thing. And now the flavor, it's not that bad.
No.
And like I said, Saisons, I'll guarantee I've had way less Saisons than I have other styles.
Right.
But I do think that this one has kind of grown on me a little bit. I was going to say like a 2.7, 2.8. So I'll go 2.8 as well. I do think that compared to the other ones, it wouldn't be my first choice.
Right.
In the ones that we had today, but it's not bad. But I still would not, to a brand new craft beer person, I wouldn't recommend this one just because it does have that stronger thing.
Haley might shy away from this. Sure. Although she's been initiated.
Yeah. But,
so Mike, your daughter's going to college in Missouri. You're going to have access to these breweries, or at least their beer. If we're going to talk about what you're going to buy again, we've got the Black Walnut, we've got 3 Oktoberfests, the Chardonnay Saison, and the Yakamaniac. What's your beer to search for? If you're going to go look for one of them, what are you going to...
One of them that we had, the number one, head and shoulders above any of them, is that Black Walnut.
Yep.
I would buy that.
A case
of it if I could. I mean, that shocked me, honestly, in a very good way.
Just the sight of it does when you pour it.
Yes. Yeah. And the flavor-wise, like I said, I've only had one other Black Walnut beer, and this is way better than that one was.
Again, I had never had a Black Walnut beer at all. I'd had Black Walnut spirits, right?
Yes.
And I'd had Black Walnut bitters in a drink, but I'd never had a Black Walnut beer. For sure, that one just shocked me. And honestly, their Oktoberfest was head and shoulders
very good as well.
Above, and I'm really impressed with both of those. It makes me want to go back and attempt to. And oh, by the way, with the Chardonnay,
isn't it fitting?
It is fitting that we had a celebratory
a wine beer, because I just hit 5,100 different beers that I've rated now.
There we go, 5,100.
But yeah, I'll tell you what, Brian, honestly, that Piney River Brewing, if the other beers were anything like those, that was amazing. Because like I said, both of those beers totally surprised me, and I'll definitely be looking for more of their stuff.
And again, I'll be telling you, if we get down there and they have the Raise a Ruckus in cans or bottle, I think they just had cans. These were the only 2 that I wanted to bring back. They had their juicy IPA in a can, which I wasn't going to do. That was really, really strong. Like I said, I think it was 60 or 80 IBU. It was really strong.
It was up there, yeah.
but their Bronzeback Pale Ale was real good. All of the beers that I had there, even the sour. Now, one of the things that they did tell me was their blackberry sour was their wheat mix, and then they had a secondary wheat base with lactose that they put the blackberry in and let me taste it a little bit. It was a completely different beer.
Huh.
So they had the puree and or the extract, I guess is what it would be.
Yep.
And the bartender just had a lot of fun with Tom and I, my father-in-law, because we're both love craft beer, and so she was having a heyday. Hey, try this. Oh, try this. And she even took that Old Tom Porter and put a little bit of their homemade root beer as a splash on top.
Okay.
And stirred it. And Tom goes, well, that's way different. And pretty good, he says. So yeah, a great place to go visit. For sure, tag them on the post online. I told them that I explained to them that you did a podcast and I would be bringing that stuff back. The two that were working there were super excited about that. They said, absolutely, this, that, and the other. I believe I got some stickers to give you.
Oh, nice.
To throw on a fridge somewhere. And then the other one, again, Free State Brewing. I know that you'll be going down that way when your daughter plays basketball. Down I-35 and right down the turnpike is Lawrence, Kansas, where KU is at, and again, a fun little brewery to go to. And we've already done some looking. There's a lot of breweries to go to.
Yeah, I've done some research already in the area where my daughter is, and it looks like there's a lot of craft breweries in there that we're going to have to check out.
And a fair amount of barbecue as well.
Yeah, and coming up in the near future, we'll actually be going to Florida, you and I.
That is true.
Families, and we will be hitting some craft breweries down there. So
absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to that as well, because it's always really a fun time just to see how different parts of the country, how they do craft beer, and they all have their own little take on things. And it's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. And again, thank you to all the armed services folks. We'll be down in Florida. I will be, to watch my son graduate from his primary school and the Navy, for what you guys do. And we stand on your shoulders and we stand tall because of everyone that serves. And whether you're retired or whether you're active duty, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. It's a commitment like no other that you don't get enough credit for.
Exactly.
And again, it doesn't matter what service you're in or what you do, whether you're MOP 4s or whether you're a top secret spy or working on a ship. I don't care. Thank you for what you do, because we get to do this podcast and get to do what we do because you guys sacrifice, you guys and gals. Appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. Well, hey, Brian, thank you so much for bringing these back, as they were all really good. I'm definitely going to be looking for some more Piney River beers when we...
Well, play your cards right. I got a couple extras. I suppose I can send them home with you.
Nice. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. And like we always say, we hope your campfire is always warm.
And your beer is always cold.
See ya. Thank you for listening to the Northwoods Beer Guy podcast. If you have a question, a comment, or a beer you'd like us to review, please feel free to send us a message at northwoodsbeerguy@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're on Untappd, look up Northwoods Beer Guy and send a friend request. Until next week, I hope all your campfires are warm and all your beer is cold.